Chapter 9. The Brotherhood of the Bonfin and Madeleine Chavanon. This chapter is going to be very long. I'm sorry about it. And it's going to be a little bit less logical. Why? Because I'm now going to talk about the Bonfin, which is the name of the physical school of the White Brotherhood in Fréjus, and also of Madeleine Chavanon, who was a very important member and somebody very important for me. I'm going to speak about other teachers I had in the Bonfin. So I will cover a time of about 4 or 5 years, 5 years maybe. So therefore, after that, in the next chapters, I will be in stories that will be sometimes during the time of the Bonfin, but not directly linked to the Bonfin. I have decided not to do something too complicated. Instead of now concentrating on the timing, I'm going to concentrate on the Bonfin and the people who are turning around the Bonfin. And then after that, I will go back to the story and I will readapt regarding the timing and the evolution. To be able to understand about the Bonfin, I will go back to the network of love. And again, I'm going to insist on the fact that if you can start to understand that you reincarnate yourself by the actions that you, by your first breathing, of course, that has everybody, the tasks that you are going to accomplish, and the love that is going to be perceived, received, incarnated by the others that are around you and that are able to receive this love because they receive respect and admiration from your way to exist, to behave, and to accomplish tasks. These people who are loving you, whatever their way, it's you. I mean, part of the existence, it's you. As yourself, you are the incarnation of the love of different people. That's why you love the people. Therefore, when you start to understand this marvelous, fantastic subtlety of the network, because we are not separated, we are one. Once you start to understand that, you understand that if you betray somebody who loves you, you betray yourself. In a physical plan of existence, you take a hammer and you break your own fingers. So, of course, when you start to perceive the field of existence that is around you, how could you do that? How could you betray somebody who loves you? Because if you do that, if you hurt somebody like this, you hurt yourself. You betray yourself. You destroy yourself. Those who are my friends, and who have been my friends now for years and years, some of you 20 years, 10 years, you have seen that I never betrayed love. Never. And I will never do it. You have seen that I always care about the others. I always say, you know I'm generous, it's because I'm very selfish. But I know that we are one. So yes, we are one in humanity, absolutely, but we are even more one with the people who love us, because we are really one being. And in the network, we understand that we are all one big entity called humanity. That each humanity is linked to other humanities on other planets and other plans of existence. And there you start to have a little idea of the face of God. So now I'm going to tell you the story about the Bonfin. So again, it's going to be quite mixed, of course, because I'm going to present the things very differently. One day I am for Christmas in Paris, and my brother bought fireworks. So it's midnight, we go to the garden, and he's using some firework. It's a little bit pretty, it's extremely cold. I'm talking about the weather. We stay 10 minutes, it's over. And after that, everybody goes home. I mean, in the house of my brother. And I say, oh, I'm going to stay outside just 10 minutes to enjoy a little bit, to meditate. And once I am in the complete darkness, the garden was quite long, so the house was really far away. I'm just there, and I turn to the Master Omram. And I just tell him thank you. I just tell him Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Master. And suddenly, for half a second, I see his shape physically in front of me. And I see without seeing. It's like if I were guessing his shape, you know. And I just opened my arms as if I wanted to hug him. It's completely logical. And he goes through me, like a ghost that is walking through you. And it was so warm, so marvelous, so intense. An experience of love as you cannot imagine. And when I am in that, I know that I have to go back to the Bonfin. It's a certitude, absolute certitude. And it is so fantastic, so marvelous. And after that, I have to go back home, to the place of my brother, because they are going to Rory. And my brother is telling me, I was about to come because it's almost 40 minutes outside now, alone. I was wondering what you were doing. I say, what? As I said before, when you enter a certain field, it's not working the same way anymore. Later on, I had more or less the same thing with an angel, with an entity that I used to call the blue angel, because his energy was blue. And it was more or less the same thing, but even more intense. But that, I will go back to this later on. So later on, I have the possibility to speak with the Master Omram, and I'm asking, do I have to go back to the Bonfin? And he said, yes, of course. My love told you that. And he said, when you go to the Bonfin, you are going to meet a person. I said, what do you mean? I don't understand. Are you talking about somebody special? I said, no, I'm talking about the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood is a network. The Brotherhood is a person. And in this person, you will meet the worst and the best. The Bonfin is like an entity that is alive, that didn't work enough, that has really a soul. That's the miracle that I created. But unfortunately, it has also a very strong ego. That's what the humans have been creating. So when you go to the Bonfin, you are going to analyze the good aspects and the bad aspects that you're going to meet. And I said, how long do I have to go to the Bonfin? He said, years. And I said, but I am a teacher of martial arts here. Here, I have to teach and so on. And he said, find out a way. And then I just answered, wakarimasu, which in Japanese means I understand, but it means consider that it's already done. Hi, Master. Wakarimasu. So I organized. It took some time. I didn't do it in one day. To go to live to the Bonfin. And for that, I had to organize with my schools of martial arts, because at that time I was quite well known in martial arts, and I had quite a lot of schools, but really a lot, a dozen more or less, where I was coming from time to time and so on. It was a little bit an industry, so that I got a good salary, but I could look after a lot of people. So I started to organize so that some of my students, first dan, second dan, black belt, could take the control of the schools instead of me. And I said, I don't let you fall. It means that regularly I will come 3 or 4 times a year to teach. Like this, as soon as you are lost, and at the beginning I did it a lot, then I came less and less often. It was part of my professional life and responsible life about what I had to do. To give you a little idea, I remember that after a long time in the Bonfin, maybe 3 months, 6 months, I don't remember which one it was, I went back to a school in Lyon, or close to Lyon, a town in France, to teach in a school. And there are 2 teachers that are my 2 students. I taught them to how to wear the kimono and how to make the knot of the belt for the first lesson. Now they were first, second dan, I've forgotten. And I am arriving, so I don't know the students, or some of them, because it's a long time, you know. And just to tell you the renommee, the nice renommee that I had, I am in the changing room, so I say hello to everybody, but some of them, they don't know me, and I don't speak especially. I start to put on my kimono, and there are 2 guys of 20 years old. They are laughing, and they ask me, so yeah, you're new here, oh, you will see, it's really cool, and so on. And I was just smiling and nodding, you know. And then at one point, I take my belt, and they see a black belt. They're frozen. They turn to the 2 teachers that were my student, and they said, no, it's him. And the 2 teachers, with a little sad face, they nod, it's him. And they start, oh, I don't stay, I'm leaving. And when they write it like this with fear, I said, straight to the dojo at once. Yes. And after that, they left, and I turned to my students and say, well, what did you tell them about me? And they looked at me and said, the truth, only the truth. So you can see the kind of guy I am, but also I was, especially at that time. So I organized everything to be a permanent, which means that you go to the Bonfin and you work there, and you can stay without paying. As I had to move everything, to leave my house, to leave everything, and it was really crazy because I didn't know if I could stay. You can be refused. But for me, there were no doubts, because Master Omram told me, you have to go there and you will stay for years. So I did. And that's an example of what you can meet also in your existence. It's so hard to do something, we don't know, maybe, blah, blah, blah. There's no maybe. There's wakarimasu. I understand. It's already done. And effectively, when I arrive in the Bonfin, there is the brother Ciota. He is the leader of the system, of course, therefore it's after the death of the Master Omram, so it's only an association, and the brother Ciota is not supposed to be a master or whatever. And I explained that I want to stay there, I will take any work, so I was selected, I have chosen to do the agriculture, because I knew quite a lot about this. So I said, okay, there at least I can be efficient because I know quite a lot. Not at that level because it's really industrial in the Bonfin because there were a lot of people. But still, I said, okay, there at least I know quite a lot and I can help. And the brother Ciotta is saying, you know, you came only once. There was many years ago. And we don't really know you. So we cannot say yes just like this. And he's hesitating and saying, you know what? You're going to stay here with your family. I came with my girlfriend and my kid. And he said, you're going to stay here 1 week. You try 1 week. And in 1 week, we'll decide together. If you feel fine, if we're happy with you, and there, we'll decide. I said, okay, no problem. It's reasonable. So this is what we decided to do. Next day, I am working in a field, doing a work that was quite hard. I was taking off roots, big old roots, because the plants were dead. And once the field was clean, I was working to put salads and stuff to feed people and so on. And the brother Ciotta is passing by. He looks at me working, he's just smiling, and as if he had totally forgotten what he said the day before, just the day before, the evening, you know. It was my first morning. He looks at me and he says, oh, with you there is no problem. You can stay as long as you want. You are at home. You are completely at home. You stay the time you want. And I looked at him and I said, thank you. And when he went away, that I was alone, I stopped working for 2 or 3 minutes. And I turned in my consciousness to Omram and I said, thank you, Master. Because Ciotta repeated the word of Master Omram some years before. You are at home, you stay the time you want, you are at home. And that's a way that this cosmic electricity can show its existence. A blink of an eye. It's magical. So therefore, I'm going to stay. But you have to know that the Master Omram, before going there, told me some stuff about some very bad stuff that happened in the Bonfin. Some people were stealing money, were and are still stealing money. Problems of authority, of manipulations, quite chaotic, you know. And I came with a large knowledge about some tricks that were happening. And I was supposed, Omram told me, you go there and you're going to learn a lot. You will meet some teachers, and the teachers will teach you some tricks to improve. But you're going to learn also with the darkness. You will fight the darkness. You will show me your power, your strength, your stability, and you are going to help me to clean the Bonfin. It's one of the works that you have to do. I help you, now you help me. So I was a sort of spy for the Master Omram. And with some leaders, I started to speak. I explained, I would like to speak about the money that disappeared. Oh, what are you talking about? Do you know the money that you took this day when you had to build this house, that you manipulated 5,000 euros, 10,000 euros? And the guy, you have to understand, he couldn't understand where I had this information from. Because at that time, I'm still not saying a word about the presence of Omram. So I'm acting under his help and control, but at the same time, no one knows. So this guy is wondering what I know, how I know what I know. And he's going to betray his friends. He's going to calculate, most probably, this one told him. So it's that, oh, it's this one who told you that, but you have to know himself, he did that and that and that and that and that and that. And after that, I went to speak to somebody else who gave me a lot of information because they were betraying each other so quickly, so easily. And basically, I started to become a beast for them in the Bonfin because I knew everything that I was not supposed to know. But honestly, if I calculate what I knew 20% from the Master Omram and 80% from the people who betrayed their friends, their ally. Quite impressive. And they started to be terrified with me, totally terrified, because they knew that I knew a lot and they couldn't understand how I had this information. When in fact it's easy, they were just giving me everything. I just had to start and I couldn't stop them, you know. They wanted to demonstrate that they were less guilty than this one, but less guilty doesn't make you honest, you know. So I had a lot of stuff from everywhere, and I stopped a lot of manipulations. They were terrified with me. Where do I come from? Who am I? How do I have all this information? It was totally impossible. At the beginning as well, they had something that they couldn't understand. They couldn't understand why I was accepted like this so quickly, and I don't know what the brother Ciotta said, because obviously he was not aware of what he did. He was lost. He's just there, that's all. And also there was the sister Blagost was the private secretary of the Master Omram, and the grave of the Master Omram was in the garden of the house. And people were begging to go to the grave of Omram. And very often Blagost said no, because she loved the power and so on. And the sister Blagost, I'm going to meet her after 2 or 3 days, 4 days. And she said, she crossed me and she said, you have to go on the grave of the Master Omram. You're at home, it's normal. You go whenever you want. And I smiled, and inside I said, thank you, Master. So I did. Some days later I went, and after that Blagost invited me to take a cup of coffee, and we stayed a while. We spoke about martial arts, about what I do, and she said, you're a real man. You are not like these people who are completely like etherical and hysterical, and you are a real man, and we need that in the Bonfin. So she was completely on my side. I didn't speak about what I knew. I didn't speak about what I was living with the Master Omram. And she was not one concerned by the manipulation of the money. So with her, I was completely open and friendly. So she found me really cool. Not like many other leaders, of course. One day, there was... Blagost was also a mountain, you know. I mean, everybody was afraid of her. She was the closest to the Master Omram when he was alive, and she was not weak either. For that, we could get along pretty well together. And one day, there was the meeting of the association. So there, it's in the big room where usually there are the conferences and we eat. There's the meeting of the association, but in the Bonfin, they have decided that only people of a certain level can take part in the meeting about the money, about everything. So I came because the law is saying that in an association in France, type 1901, you cannot... The meeting is open to everybody of the association, and even somebody in the street has the right to enter. It's the law. So when they had decided only people of that level, 10 years or I don't know what, they have the right to take part in this, it's against the law. So therefore, I went. I wanted to hear. I was there to play the sheriff, you know, to play Zorro. So I went. I sat down, and the leader, that was Lamy, another man, he showed me with his head, you know, and he invited 3 people to show me the door. So they stood up. And there, as Blagos was there, she stood up really strongly, you know, violently, and she crossed her arms on her chest, and she looked at the 3 people. They were terrified with her. So they looked at Lamy, and Lamy signed, okay, no, with her head, you know, and they sat down, and I stayed for the meeting. Like this, I had even more information. And some people asked me after that, they said, how are you in the meeting of the White Brotherhood? It's not allowed, and so on. And I said, it is allowed, it's the law. I go with the justice, I do what is allowed. But no, it's not possible. I said, it's not possible because you are afraid and because you believe that it is not possible. Therefore, it's becoming impossible for you, but not for me. And in my discovery in the Bonfin, it was really a mixing. It was always a mixing. I saw so many arrogant people, so much in the power. It was a disaster. It was really a catastrophe of arrogance, of power, of egos, showing off, and trying to put you down because they were telling you, oh, the ego is an illusion, so just shut up. But their egos was not an illusion at all. Were not an illusion at all. So they were just playing the power by using the spirituality to have the absolute power on you. And that was, I always refused. You know, when they were trying to do that, I said, just fuck off, leave me in peace. Not open. I don't believe in your stupidities. And they were saying, what, you don't believe in the teaching of Omram? I say, it's not the teaching of Omram, it's the teaching of you. Your manipulations to be right, to be divine, to be perfect, and always to be the reincarnation of Cleopatra and Peter Dunov. And sometimes Jesus Christ or Moses as well, you know. Akhenaton also was very often on the market. So very often my answer was just no, that's all. So everybody assimilated me like somebody weird. I was working a lot. I had some close friends. The Conquet, it was a family. Pierre-Jean Conquet, Frédéric Conquet, Chudesna Conquet, a family. They were so marvelous, so fantastic, so open, so much in love. They left after that, the White Brotherhood, because they were really too disappointed. But when they were there, that I was there as well, it was a great time of love and complicity, really. And I remember that the first time we spoke with Frédéric Conquet, we spoke about Omram, and she said, you have no idea, even if he's dead, what the firm, the company of Michael can do. And I was wondering if she knew. In fact, she didn't know, but she had like sort of instinct or something like this, intuition. And with her, with her family, I learned also quite a lot because they were fantastic helpers. And one day I was with 2 other girls that were really cute, sincere, completely in this commitment with the light and so on. In the middle of people who were so fake lights, arrogant, lying, pretending. That's why I know them pretty well, because I've been learning with them. I know how they look like, how they act. New Age people, pseudo spiritualists. I know them pretty well, how they use the spirituality to be divine, to be perfect, to be always right. I know them. And one day, there's Blagos who is singing. We're in the big room where the conferences and the meals were given. And I am with two sisters, one right-hand side, left-hand side. And Black Ghost is singing a music that is inviting the cosmos, the planet, to give peace and love for the children of the world. How is it? Donnez-nous 1000 colombes pour les 100 000 ans qui viennent. Donnez-nous 1000 colombes pour les enfants du monde entier. Donnez-nous 1000 colombes, and so on, which means give us 1,000 doves for the millennium that is coming and for all the children of the world. So I have a little bit forgotten the lyrics, but more or less. And when she was singing, it was very strong. And I saw her singing before when the Master Omram was there, and he was crying. He was so touched by this music, by this intensity of the voice of Black Ghost. He was very often crying in front of this intensity. And I saw this image. I was so much with the heart of Omram. I started to be touched by this. And the two girls were so honest. They saw that. And they took my hand, my right hand, my left hand, with the right and left partner. They were holding me very strongly, so sincerely. I started to cry so much, but so much, you have no idea. I was in the shit of the Bonfin with this money stolen, with these people arrogant, lying, pretending to be with the light. It was so difficult to go to a place that is magical, where you meet fantastic, marvelous beings, and at the same time you meet cosmic assholes, you know? And with this woman who was singing, the memory of Omram resonating in my heart the first time I came with my letter and so on, I couldn't resist. I was crying so much, but it was marvelous, fantastic, so intense. So intense. I met also Yannick Percherancier. That was really a fantastic, marvelous brother. He was really my brother. We spent so much time after that together. We used to go in the mountains. He was a mountaineer. So we were going to the mountains together. And we were challenging each other. He was so fit and so fantastic. He was a fantastic being. And as he was very disappointed by the Bonfin, he was very often on a part that is called Les Amandiers, which is another part of the Bonfin, where Madeleine Chavanon was staying. Madeleine Chavanon was the lady who magnetized the watt that I received the first time that I came that was burning. I met her, and I started to learn also with her. And herself, she was not weak. She was so intense, so honest, so clean, so perfect, just perfect, of honesty, of love, of everything, perfect. And I worked with her on the energy. I discovered some stuff. She was so intense with the energy when she was touching you. And I saw her, for instance, doing some movements on the back of somebody, but without touching the back, maybe 5-10 centimeters away from the back, and doing some movements, and I could hear the spine crackling like when you do osteopathy. What? And I learned with her some perceptions, how to perceive some stuff. She asked me to put my hands on somebody and to say, where is it weak? And I could say here or there. And she said, yes, absolutely right. And I learned to perceive the energy with her that is emanating from the body. And I learned to correct this energy, to manipulate it. Of course, what I give in some sentences is a work of years with her. And I was spending my time with her. So you have to understand that at the beginning, I was living in the Bonfin. And then after 5-6 months, I saw that it was really a snake pit. So I decided to take a house, a flat, by the side of the Bonfin in a block that is called the Capitou. And I just saw a flat. I had nothing, we left everything to come there. And the master Omram said, everything will be fine. And so we went walking. I saw a board to rent, all right. But I had not a lot of money left because I spent already quite a lot of money because I had been already in the Bonfin for 5-6 months. And the car, the insurances, even if you eat for nothing and so on, still you have some stuff to pay. And I called the guy, I said, okay, we try. And the guy said, oh, no, it's fine, it's perfectly fine. I said, for the deposit, no, don't worry about the deposit. So I just had to pay the rent, and that I could. And he said, is it a problem for you because it's completely with a complete furniture? I said, no. And when we opened, the house was just ready. Furniture everywhere as I never had before. Everything was ready. When you are open, when you trust, things are happening. So after that, we have also, of course, the telephone. At that time, the mobiles are not existing. Yes, I know. With the brontosaurs, I know. Mammoths. And when I was in the house of Madeleine Chavanon, I spent so much time with her. Once I was not a volunteer anymore in the Bonfin, that I was outside. I spent a lot of time with her. And so much that my son, who at that time was about 7 years old, he used to spend a lot of time with his friends because where it was highly protected, really, so no danger at all. And then he was watching TV. And when he was tired not to see me, he was calling. And he knew the phone number of Madeleine by heart because I was too often there. And he was calling and saying, arguing with Madeleine. Look, my father spent a lot of time with you now. That's enough now. It's too much time. I spent too much time alone. I've been watching TV. There's nothing interesting. So I want him to come now, because it's really too long. And Madeleine, she loved that. She was laughing a lot. Not in front of him, but she had a big smile. After that, she gave me the receiver, and she was laughing, and she said, you're going to have a lot of problems. He's not happy at all. He's not happy. And she loved it, because she loved as well Miku, and Miku loved Madeleine. And that's the weird situation of the Bonfin. And I understood more and more what Omra meant when he said you are going to meet an entity of love and light, and also an entity of disaster. It is what you are, most of you. You can be Madeleine Chavanon, you can be Yannick Percherancier, the Conquête, or you can be also the other people, arrogant, pretending, manipulating, stealing money. That's the story of each of you. That's the story of an association that is becoming an entity as well, with the inspiration of the soul, Omram, and with the inspiration of the ego, humanity. But I could, like in the Bonfin, visit the inside of an entity, meeting this one that was fucking rubbish, arrogant, blah, 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 and this one that was marvelous and fantastic. Of course, you will discover that later on in my book. With the time, I learned not to speak with Omram through my friend, my girlfriend, but directly within myself. I developed, but I will go back to this event later on, so I speak quickly about it and I will explain later on more. I developed perceptions, control of the energy, perception of the Master Omram directly within myself. perception of a lot of stuff. And therefore, one day, I received a phone call from Joyce Clark. At that time, I was still living in the Bonfin. So Joyce is saying, I am a disciple of the Master Omram, and I come to visit you. And I said, what do you mean, to come to visit me? And she said, yes, I speak with entities, and they told me that I have to come to teach you a lot of stuff, to meet you, to show you. But she was really, for me, among the people I was always meeting in the Bonfin. I said, oh no, another one, we start again, oh, fuck off. And I said, okay. She gave me a phone number. All right, you know what? One day I call you back and we see that. And she said, I'm not going to stay very long. I come only for you. I said, but where do you come from? From the Sicily. So it's 1,500 kilometers more or less. I said, what? What is? And then my girlfriend was calling me because my kid, at that time maybe 4 years old maybe, he was really ill, he was puking and so on. So I said, look, I'm sorry, but I have to go because my kid is ill. And she said, it's the water that is poisoned. I said, yeah, super cool. Okay, excuse me, but I have to go now. All right, so we're in the Bonfin. I look after my kid who is unwell. We go maybe to the doctor. Honestly, I don't remember. Or just tablet like this, I don't remember. But what I remember is that the next day, when I got up, bottles of water everywhere in the Bonfin, with boards everywhere. Don't use the tap water. We have a problem. There's a poison because of agricultures and so on, blah, 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 blah. And I said, what? What? Then I called by this lady. And I said, how did you know about the water? And she said, about what? About the water. I don't remember. Whoa. Don't move. I'm coming. So I came, and when I arrived, she gave me a crystal as a present. A big crystal. Very nice, very big. And she said, it's going to be the diamond of your evolution. You have to know to develop some powers. I said, what are you talking about? And she said, the Master Omram has been asking for that. I said, what? What? Then I used to go outside with her, and she was doing a protocol that was very special. We're in the forest or anywhere else, and she was walking around me with this crystal. And she was stopping, turning, and I had my eyes closed. I was blinded by whatever. And at one point, she was coming in front of me, and she said, now you find the crystal. So it was around me, about 3 meters away, and she was asking me to find the crystal. But I didn't have any references because she was stopping to different places, so even if I was following with my ears, which I did, I couldn't guess where the crystal was because she could leave it anywhere. She stopped, she was walking, she stopped, so no idea. And at the beginning it was really difficult, but with the time I discovered that I could do it. She was really like a Jedi for me, teaching me stuff like this, that I developed to practice more and more. And some days I was arriving in the house, and when I said, okay, we go to work outside, she said, no, the crystal is somewhere in the house, find it. And then after that, we go outside. And I said, but where is it? I don't remember, I forgot, find it. And it's the same. After that, I was able to find it in places completely crazy. You know, at the beginning, they were easy spots, but after that, they were hidden in the worst space. I remember once behind the toilets and so on. It was just like in the circle. And at one point, we had a meditation, and she said, I know that you are talking with the Master Omram. And now is going to come. And effectively, because I was more advanced, I could feel his presence. He was there, like in the garden of my brother. And I asked her after that, I said, we stopped, and I said, what happened exactly? And she said, he came to give you his cane. You know, he had always a cane with a crystal at the top. And his seat, he had a cushion to sit down on it always. And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, you're supposed to be the new master. And I said, no. Don't play this game with me. I can learn stuff, I can have weird stuff, but I'm not the new master. The Wild Brotherhood is not my brotherhood. I didn't create this. They have their own stories, their own story. I have nothing to do with that. And she said, but you are interfering a lot there. And I said, well, if you're in contact with Master Omram, you know why I do that. And she said, yes, I do. And that's why I tell you that they're a new master. And I said, no. I have to specify that the Master Omram told me that a lot of people will invite me to become the new master in the Bonfin, and that I had to say no, because I had to look after another school, like another brotherhood, that will become important in the evolution of this planet. And I didn't know if it could be true or not. Even today, I don't know if it can be true, because all of this happened more or less 30 years ago, 25 years ago. It depends on the events, but a long time ago. And I had different brotherhoods, but not something important that could change anything on this planet, you know, far from it. So I just refused, in spite of being very impressed by her. And she said, you don't have to refuse, it will come. And I said, but I don't want to take the control of the Bonfin. And she said, but I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about the White Brotherhood, the real one, the essence of it. And after that, before I had time to understand, she said, okay, I'm going to leave now. It's our last meeting. And when I travel, I'm going to stop in the middle of Italy somewhere. So I will ask you to call me this evening. And I said, yes, of course. Do you have the phone number, or where do you stop? And she said, I don't know, but you will find me. She said, as you find the crystal, you can find me. I kept this crystal for a very long time in my life. About 10 years ago, it was stolen when I was tortured in jail. But I kept it for a very long time. I loved it. But that's all. That's humanity. And I found that really weird. And Joyce Clark was a friend of Augusta. Augusta is therefore the mother of Frédéric Conquet that I spoke about before. She was also, Augusta, very close to the Master Omram. And in the evening, she came with a map and she said, okay, Iji, so now you're ready to do your exercise. I said, what are you talking about? How do you want me to do that? And she had a map of Italy and she said, Joyce, explain to me how you have to do. Just try to feel, as you were finding the crystal, find the town on the map. I said, how could I? And she said, just don't think, just do it. And I said, I don't know. And then I was looking at the map and, okay, this town. And then we did some research and we found the references of the different hotels. And it was not on the internet. We did that with tourist office, I think. I have forgotten now. But so we manage, I have forgotten now, to have the references of different hotels in the town that I showed. And I don't know, it's ridiculous. I was a bit annoyed by this, and suddenly, okay, this one. Each time it was coming like a certitude. And we called, and I said, could I speak to Joyce Clark? And we said, yeah, of course, room 200, blah, blah, blah. Then I spoke with her, and she said, now you have enough knowledge to go on. Your journey is far from being over. And I never saw Joyce Clark again. This lady was black. She was about 50 years old. I never saw a woman that was that pretty. At that time I was, 32, 33, something like this, 34. We say in French, if she had said yes, I wouldn't have said no about something else. But she never proposed, unfortunately. But she had a fantastic smell, she had a fantastic presence. I was really sort of in love with her, but not the love that you want to imagine. You know, she was nearly 15, 20 years older than me, but she was fantastic, marvelous, because she had this that I speak about, this network, this intensity, this mystery at the same time. When I went back to Yannick Percheroncier, I spoke about the story with the can and so on. And because it was the can, the cushion, and the hat. And he said, oh, that's funny. And I said, why? I said, well, you know, I keep a secret about the Bonfin because I'm respectful, but I'm disgusted by this. I said, explain. I'm sorry, I'm lost. And he said, you know, I was the one who put the Master Omram in the coffin. Oh. And the leaders of the Bonfin, they said that the cane and the hat of the master were with him in the coffin. And he said, and it's a lie. I put him myself in the coffin, and in the coffin there was no cane and no hat. They took it away for somebody to be the new master for somebody. And I said, wow. So what was presented was like showing me the phantasm of somebody who really took away the things of the Master Omram. And very often when you perceive things like this, you have fantastic, precise information, but it's not always the way that you expect. And at the same time, I was even more disgusted about the Bonfin, that somebody, some leaders, took this without asking. I was so offended, shocked. About the conferences that the master used to do, they did exactly the same. You can go to see on YouTube now, you will see some conferences of Master Omram. Some are translated with the subtitle in English. But I'm very shocked because they never presented the real conferences. I mean, what they present is the real conference. It's not a lie. But it's so censored. It's just a short part where things are presented are very classical, simple. And the conferences were of 1 hour and a half, 2 hours. And on the internet, you will find conferences of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just a short part. As soon as it was going into something serious, everything was deleted. And after that, they took the knowledge of Omram, and they have been hiding it in different places of the world. As far as I know, 5 different places to make sure that the knowledge is kept. But at the same time, strangely enough, while Omram was teaching to everybody, now the disciples are saying, it is not for the world, not now, for later. Then Omram was an idiot. Why did he give that to anybody who was coming? So the more I went, and the more I discovered disgusting stuff. and fantastic stuff with fantastic beings at the same time. It is really the sum up of a personality and the divinity at the same time. Absolutely. And one day, I was called for a secret meeting in the Bonfin. It was after 1 or 2 years in the Bonfin. I had my house already in the Capitol. And I arrived to a meeting, and it was not in the Bonfin, in fact, it was in the Capitol. There was another Madeleine, not the Madeleine I spoke about, another Madeleine who wanted to talk with me, and were there when I arrived, 8 other people, or 7 other people. And it was really the secret meeting, you know. And when I arrived, ooh, what is again this new shit? You know, in the Bonfin, I was there to fight with a lot of people. So, oh, what is this new shit? And they were there to tell me something very secret. And then, okay. And they said, for that, we have to ask you something. All right, ask. Have you got the card of the Bonfin to enter? I said, of course I have the card. Otherwise, how do you want me to enter? And they said, no. Look. We're not the administration here. We want you to tell us the truth. Do you have the card of the Bonfin? And there, they were not aggressive. I was not in the Bonfin anymore. I mean, I was going very often, but not more. So I just hesitated, I calculated, and I decided to say the truth. Because in fact, I came with a card, you know, if you remember in the other chapters, the number was not logical with the story that I had. So I never had the card. After that, the lady at the reception kept my card and said, I don't know, I will see later. And they always forgot. So I was the only one where I was never showing my card because I didn't have it. I had one that was not logical, and after that they knew me, and that's all. So I hesitated and I said, no, I don't have the card. So they asked how it was possible, and I explained the story. And they said, we knew it. And I said, what do you mean you knew it? What does it mean? Why do you need to meet me to speak about my card? What is the story? And they said, well, the Master Omram in the past said that the Master Peter de Nov will come back, will go to the Bonfin, that he will be terrible, that he will be merciless, that he will come to correct a lot of injustices. And you will recognize him because he will not have the card. He will be the only one to be able to enter the Bonfin without the card. I said, what do you mean? And they said, you are the Master Peter de Nov. And I said, stop it. If you want the Master Peter de Nov, you have at least 100 reincarnations of the Master Peter de Nov de Bonfin. So ask any one of them. Don't disturb me with that. And they didn't understand why I was so angry with that. And I said, you know, I perceive the reincarnations exactly the opposite of what you believe. And they couldn't understand. So I said, you know, everybody wants to be the reincarnation of Cleopatra, of the Master Peter de Nov, or I don't know, Jesus Christ. And I don't want to have that, because if I have that, it means that I fell down a lot. If you tell me that I was a butcher, a cleaning woman, and that now I am E.G., Master of Martial Arts, knowing quite a lot of stuff, acting in the White Brotherhood, it's not bad. It's not bad. I can be proud. But if you tell me that I'm the reincarnation of Peter de Nov, bloody fucking, I'm so down compared to what I was before. I don't want to hear such a stupidity. And they were troubled with my speech. They said, that's so different and so honest. And they said, you know what? You just demonstrated the opposite. You are so pure and so honest that you even give more the proof that you are the Master Peter de Nov. And one said, "What is your job? Are you a dancer?" And I said, "No, I'm not a dancer." And there they looked at each other and they said, "Because the Master Pidanov himself said that when he comes back, he will be the dancer, that he will be well known as a dancer." And I said, "In that case, I'm sorry, there's a mistake. Find somebody else. I am an expert in martial arts. So I'm not your Peter Dunov, and I don't want to hear about these stupidities." I was really angry. I was really close. I said, no. The pathology of the Master Peter Dunov, you leave me in peace with that, please. And the conversation was over. I go back home, and the next day I received a phone call because, as I said at that time, I was still giving a lot of workshops in my schools and in other places in France because I was acting in an association called IKDS that I created, International Karate Do Shotokai. And I was one of the leaders, and I was giving a lot of workshops. So there's a school contacting me, and they asked me if I could do this workshop and so on. And as it was part of my work to get a bit of money, I said, "Yeah, of course, there's no problem." And they said, "We wanted to ask you if you agree on the advertisement, because we want to present you, e.g., the dancer, e.g., the killer." And I said, yes. In fact, you have to know that in martial arts, I have a very supple style, and everybody knew me with my nickname, the dancer. And when people were fighting with me, practicing with me, I was very, very hard, very painful, and they used to call me also the killer. So they were my two nicknames, the dancer, the killer, or sometimes they used to say the killer dancer or the dancer killer. And I said, yeah, of course, no problem, of course, you can use whatever you want. And I was putting down the receiver, and I thought, fuck off, they're right. I am a dancer. I'm well known in different countries as being the dancer. So I was really troubled with this story, but not open on their theory. Some weeks later, I am sitting on a rock in front of the Bonfin. I'm not in the Bonfin. I think I was waiting for Yannick to go to practice something like running, or we used to do that a lot. We're going to the mountains around in Fréjus, in the Bonfin. It's full of them, so easy to go. And I see a man arriving, sort of tramp, with a big backpack, and he's entering. He's not looking at me, he's entering the Bonfin. And I'm still waiting for my friend, and this man is going out of the Bonfin after 3-4 minutes. I was a bit on the side, like 50 meters away of the Bonfin, so I could see when he entered and when he left, but it was not my business. And the man goes straight to me. He's stopping, putting his backpack down in front of me, and he says, "I am here to meet the Master Peter Dunov." And I said, yes, so and he's walking towards me, very close, and he said, "I'm talking to you because I want to meet the Master Peter Dunov." What can I do to help you? What are you talking about? Where do you come from? And then he explained that he came from a very far distance, and he wanted to meet the Master Peter Dunov. He believed that the Master Peter Dunov was living in the Bonfin. So, of course, at the Bonfin and the tramp, they are open to nothing like this. So they just said, no, the Master Peter Dunov, he died a long time ago. He was living anywhere, not here, but in Bulgaria, so please leave. So that's why he came to me. And then I organized everything for this man who was a bit lost. We hosted him. He met, of course, Yannick. He met also Madeleine. And with Madeleine, you have to know that this tramp was an ex-actor. in the theaters, so he had a fantastic voice. I am here to meet the master, Peter Donoff. You had the feeling that a god was talking to you. He had really something in the voice. When he was talking, goosebumps, really. And he met, after that, Madeleine Chavanon. And when he met Madeleine Chavanon, he knelt down in front of her. He took her hand, and he was saying, "Oh, your beauty is equal to your radiance of light, and your perfume is marvelous, and like a forest of flowers, blah, 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 blah." And I was just about to tell him, "Stop it now, leave her in peace. I just invited you to meet her, but stop this cinema." And when I started to speak like this, Madeleine, she stopped me and she said, "But leave him, he's charming, he's marvelous, this man." She loved it. So I found that very cute and funny to see how she loved all of this. But you'll understand that what the ancient brothers and sisters of the Bonfin told me, I just found weird that he was going to meet straight, and I want to talk to the master Peter Donoff. And I was, but so what? I mean, I'm sorry. But after that alone, wow, it's weird. It's really weird. It's really weird. But I refused totally this, because there was no way for me to accept this cinema, the pathology of the master Peter Donoff. Leave me in peace with that, you know. So that are some little adventures of the paradox of the Bonfin, the violence of the Bonfin, and the craziness of the Bonfin, and the beauty of the Bonfin at the same time. And it was really like meeting one person and learning so much about the energy with Madeleine, with Joyce Clark, all of this. There is a music in the Bonfin that I found fantastic when I discovered it, because it's one of the only music that is in French. They sing fraternité, brotherhood. Fraternité, 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 oh, fraternité, fraternité. And it goes up and more voices, and it's so powerful, with a woman who is singing in the middle. It's so intense, so it was really cool. But one day I discovered the story, the horrible story of this music. There was a man who wrote this music, and he asked the best singer of the Brotherhood to sing that. So she got ready to be the first singer of the Brotherhood to present this music. But you have to know a little bit the story of this lady. A long time ago, before the Brotherhood, she tried to commit suicide, but she didn't die. She was destroyed because of a love story, and she rebuilt herself with the music. She started to learn how to sing, and she started to sing in a fantastic way. She had a fantastic voice. But unfortunately for her, the daughter of one of the leaders of the Bonfin, who had not a fantastic voice, but who could sing, wanted to sing this music. So, and that is typical from the Bonfin, the leaders, they went to see this lady, and they said, "Well, we have been looking after your file, and we saw that you committed suicide, and the Bonfin is so powerful, so much energy, so much, intensity. If you sing that in front of everybody, you will not face it. It will be too hard, it's dangerous for you. So we have decided you will not sing." They told her that one day before singing. She had been working months to get this music perfect. And this lady was really killed by this. It was so unfair. So, ego, lies, manipulations are. And the other girl, who was not very talented, but daughter of one of the leaders, the first time sang this music in front of everyone. And exactly at the time that this lady was singing, The other one was committing suicide, and this time she succeeded. And of course, people just said, you see, we were right. She was not strong enough. In spite of avoiding her, the intensity, she committed suicide. So I don't tell you if she had been singing. That is the Bonfin. So you have fantastic, marvelous stuff like this music, and you have the real story behind, and you feel like puking. And Madeleine was not at all for those things. Not at all. Because she was clear and strong. At one point, there were some people from the Capitol, some kids, teenagers, I would say 18, 19. They were stopping the people from going to the sunrise on the rock that is outside of the Bonfin. And the Bonfin, at that time I was still living in the Bonfin, they asked me, you don't do anything, no one is moving, we close the door, we don't even go outside for the sunrise because, it's, so we have to be terrified. And it was going absolutely against my philosophy. The light is strong, not weak. So I wanted to go. But the leaders of the Bonfin asked me not to go. So later on I spoke with Madeleine Chavanon. I said, what do we do with these teenagers that are stopping the complete Bonfin? Hundreds of people to go to the sunrise just because of 10 kids. And she just looked at me and she said, let's get rid of these assholes. Could you look after that, E.G.? Please? And I said, yes, Madeleine. She gave me the green light. So of course I did. I argued with them. They were terrified with me. In spite of being 10, they were just terrified because they were kids. I mean, teenagers, 18, 19. And when I said, go away, the story was over. It was not even violent. Unfortunately. And I had another story that was more tonic with the Bonfin, where you can see again the paradox. At that time, I had already my house. I was much more advanced in the work. And there is a little girl of 7 years old, so the age of my son, more or less. And she was completely lost, skinny, pale. And I started to think, what's wrong with this girl? And in fact, I met the father, and I discovered that the father had what we call a mystical crisis. So for him, he could eat only the light. He didn't need to eat anymore. And he said that his daughter was so pure that she didn't need to eat either, which was not completely true regarding her body. And the guy was also a zombie, totally lost. And I was not aggressive with him. He was just totally lost. That's all. And we invited the daughter to eat with us many times. And I never saw a little girl eating so much. She was obviously getting a lot, because she was really starving. And we did that 6-7 times. And after that, the father came to us and he said, I understand why you do that. You invite my daughter because you are stealing her light. You are like vampires. And I said, okay, I understand. So he said, you will not see my daughter anymore. Of course. So I said, it's going to be exactly the opposite that's going to happen. And he said, what do you mean? I said, you are not going to see your daughter anymore. She's going to stay with us in my house. And he said, I will call the police. And I said, please do that. I am a psychologist. I will do a complete deposit about your file, your state of mind, and you will be arrested. Which was a complete lie, because he's the father, I'm no one. So I really played poker, But he believed me, so he didn't dare calling the police. And I kept the daughter in my house with my kid and with my girlfriend. The next day, he came and he said, at least can I see my daughter? I said, of course, she's your daughter, so you can see her, but she stays in this house. So he spent a bit of time with us. He ate as well, by the way, and he ate a lot, so I thought, oh, you left your light diet. And when it was time to leave, he said, can I kiss my daughter? And I said, of course, she's your daughter, so... And when he was at the door of our house to kiss his daughter, he took her, and you have to know that to leave my house, there was like a sort of little bridge to go above the basements. And there was really a hole of maybe 4 meters underneath for, let's say, 2 meters of distance. And when he was on this sort of bridge at the entry of our house, he took his daughter and he put her outside in the emptiness. And he said, what do you do now? What do you do now? And I was talking to him very quietly, and I was approaching very gently. And when I started to be close to him, he said, don't approach anymore. And he was turning a little bit more towards the house because I was outside. And when he was doing that, my girlfriend arrived from the inside and she caught the girl. And while she was holding her, I approached very quickly and I took also the daughter and I said, now you, the girl, and I said, now you go away. And in the next days, he tried to do the same protocol again, but the girl didn't want to approach him anymore, which I understand. Some days later, I meet him with 2 other guys, and he said, you're going to give me back my daughter. And I said, no. I said, no. In fact, he was divorced, so he had the responsibility for a month about his daughter because the ex-wife was traveling on holiday. So we tried to contact her, but we couldn't because she was traveling in another country. We didn't have the references. So I couldn't contact her. And so I'm meeting this man at random somewhere, and he's with 2 other guys, and they are quite aggressive. And I said, he's saying, you give back the daughter. And I said, no, she's under my protection. No one is approaching. And they started to be really, really aggressive. But about aggressivity, let's say that I have weapons that the others don't have. And when they started to catch me and so on, very bad idea. And 2 other people are arriving, running from a forest that was just behind where I met him. So when I started to move, 2 others are arriving, running, and the 5 of them, let's say 1 minute later, are lying on the floor, deeply relaxed. And I talked to the guy and I said, this is from your daughter. Don't ever do that again, because next time I'm going to be extremely violent. And I left. The next day, new attack. Somebody is knocking at the door of my house. So I go, and there are 3 leaders, half leaders of the Bonfin, 2 men and a woman. And so I welcome them. I say, oh, that's the first time that I have the visit of some people from the Bonfin, but be welcome. They enter, and they start to speak about this girl who was around, and they said, okay, so you have been learning the teaching of the Master Omram. And I said, yes, of course. And they said, therefore, you know that this little girl is not a little girl. She's an immortal soul. Do you agree with this? And I said, yes. And they said, therefore, she knows her karma, she knows her destiny, and she has decided to live with this father. And you don't have to interfere, you don't have to help. As an immortal soul, she knows what she's doing. It's not your business. So leave her in peace. Because they didn't like the evolution of the story. And I said, yes, I agree completely with you. She's an immortal soul. That's why she came to live very close next to my house, so that I help her. And now you're going to leave my house at once, because otherwise your divine asses are going to be extremely painful, because when I kick people out with kicks, they are very, very painful, so you leave at once. And they were just flabbergasted of my stupidity, violence. I was ready, an animal, and nothing more than an animal. And I saw that the tension was going up and up, rising really a lot. And I thought of the complete situation, what I could do, and I expected the police to arrive in my house sooner or later. I saw it coming from far. So suddenly I thought of the trick that George Clark taught me. And I took different maps, and I said, you're in this country, you're in this town, you're in this hotel. And I contacted her. And she said, but how did you know where I am? Even my ex-husband doesn't know, so how did you find me? I said, I have relations, let's say high relations, and I could manage something to find you. And I explained the situation, and she said, yeah, but I give you the complete power. If anyone is asking, I give you the complete power, and I'm coming back at once in France. So 2 or 3 days later, she was there, and everything was fine, because the girl was very happy to see her mother, which was not the case with the father. And some days later, I received a call from a judge. Why? Because in fact, some people complained, not against me, but against the Bonfin and against the father. And the judge was explaining, he said, I've been asking for complete research, and I know that you have been looking after this girl, and I want to know more about the Bonfin. And I said, why do you want to know more about the Bonfin? And he said, because the Bonfin apparently didn't care at all about the situation of this little girl, which means they're not protecting somebody who's in danger. And it's supposed to be an association about light and brotherhood, and so I want to know more about this association. And there, I lied. I said, no, but you have to understand, I've been acting directly under the control of the Bonfin. As I am one of the Bonfin, but I'm not living in the Bonfin, they were really afraid with this situation, they don't know what to do, so they asked me to act in a hidden way as a member of the Bonfin. So the judge said, so you're telling me that you were missioned by the Bonfin to do what you did, so that the Bonfin felt finally deeply connected with the story. And I said, yes, absolutely. And in that case, and the judge said, okay, in that case, it's very different. And you have to know that with the time, I developed a lot of problems with the Bonfin because of everything that I knew, everything that I did, my position, because of a lot of different stories where I was not at all like them. And every time I wanted to enter the Bonfin, it was even forbidden to enter for anybody with a car. And I was going at the gate with the automatic system, and there was the secretary there, a lady that was saying no to some people because they were not supposed to enter. And I, when I arrived, the lady was just showing with a finger no. And I looked at her, and every time I was nodding with my head, yes. And every time she was very angry, and she was just opening the gate. So I was the only one to enter. I didn't have the card, and I was even entering with the car, which is bad in the Bonfin. I did it on purpose. And one day I was arriving on foot, and there the lady said no. But she was directly talking to me. So I leant towards her and I said, I received a phone call from the judge about the story of this little girl. I have forgotten her name. I think Sophie, but I'm not sure. And I said, do you want me to call back? Because the judge was very interested to know more about this association where they don't care about a kid who is starving. And she said, poof, anyway, we cannot talk with you. And she said, okay, enter. I was like the pet of the Bonfin, you know. Everybody loved me indeed a lot. There, I understood why Joyce Clark had told me that. Because it could have been a little different, that would have changed a lot. Maybe I would have been to jail for a kidnapping. And I can only invite you to check what we call the little things of the life. Because we are very often extremely dishonest. You are going to see things that are going to happen, the disaster, but you're not going to notice that sometimes what you have been practicing can save your life, can avoid an accident where you could die, where you could have had a lot of problems. And you don't notice the little things of the life that can be radically different. You arrive to a crossing and you take right instead of left, and it's changing your complete destiny. So please keep remembering those things. Be honest to see the globality of what you have done and what you get. In the Bonfin, I was asked very often to react and to fight the people who were trying to steal the power, the money, and everything else. It happened that I had different meetings, and with the time I started to be quite well known in the Bonfin. There was a meeting, the last meeting, that was covered by Madeleine Chavanon. She said they can come to my, not really garden, but on the side of her house. She said you can gather here under my protection. And at the Bonfin, they said the meeting is forbidden. Anyone goes to the meeting with Ichi will be fired from the White Brotherhood. Democracy, brotherhood, freedom, everything. In spite of this threat, we were 80 people. And 80 people, they asked me to take the control of the Bonfin. And again, I said no. And I said, it's even worse. Now I will not take position anymore in the Bonfin. I did my work. I revealed everything that I had to reveal. You have every element. Look after your business. I'm not there anymore. So I was still around, but I don't want to take position in the Bonfin. And the leader, he came to see me, Brother Lamy. He came and he said, but you have the power, you have everything, and now you refuse. I don't understand. And I told him, I never wanted to get the power. I just wanted the light to be manifested, nothing else. My work is over. And the Bonfin is not my place anymore. I have a destiny that will take me somewhere else. And of course, Lamy was very happy to get rid of me because I was such a pain in the ass, for him. I worked a lot with Madeleine. I loved her totally, completely. As I am diabetic and that she was magnetizer, she wanted to cure me. And there I can explain some fantastic stuff, and it's the accumulation of all these dark and positive stuff that allow you to learn so much. She wanted to work on me, and she said, no, it's not working because you are taking nothing. You are invulnerable to my energy. You are refusing it completely. And I knew that it was true because it was very, very difficult for me in the past to be open to the love, to the care that she wanted to give. I was there saying, you know what, I'm there to help, to learn, but I don't want to take anything. And she said, but you don't take anything. It belongs to you. It's part of what you are. I just present it to you differently so that you're aware. But I couldn't understand that. And she tried twice, and twice she said, it's a disaster, you take nothing. And she said, okay, we're going to try a third time another day, and if it's not working, we stop. And this night, the Master Omram came. Of course, at that time it was a complete secret, so Madeleine didn't know. And the Master Omram told to me that I had to accept this love, that it was the essence of my soul, the essence of everything that I try to learn. And when I meet this love, I have to take it because it belongs to me. He spoke more or less in the same words, but it was so powerful that I was touched. And 1 or 2 days later, there's a new thing with Madeleine, and there she said, oh, now it's completely different. You took everything, it's excellent. And there, she doesn't know that I meet Omram in the night. She doesn't know that he came, but she can see that I'm radically different, that now it has been working. And it has been working for a little while. I am improving, I feel better. The doses of insulin are lower and lower. And at one point it's blocking. I'm not improving anymore. And Madeleine is very, very disappointed. She's really sad. She says, before I had more energy, now I don't concentrate so well, it's not working so well. I'm really disappointed. I really wanted you to be my last success. And after a little while, I saw that she was very sad. So I started to do something. I lied to her. I wanted to give her joy. So I started to invent that my doses were going down. And at one point I came and I said, Madeleine, I'm cured. I was lying, but she was so happy. In her head, she saved me. And you are going to say, that was mean to lie to her? No. I gave her the success that she deserved, even if she couldn't anymore because she was too old. What does it change? Anyway, I stay ill, and there's nothing to change. But it's my pleasure to give her the pleasure to believe that I'm cured, that I'm fine. It's a marvelous present of light. She wanted to give me one to cure me. She never asked for any money. So it was my pleasure to give her also a present of light. Indeed. What does it change? She left happy with that, proud of, and in my heart, she cured me. Madeleine has never been ill, never. As long as I learned with her, I saw her smiling, happy, funny, open. And one day, for the first time, I saw her being ill. And I remember it was the first time that I saw her ill. In fact, she started to be unwell, and more or less 10 days later, she was dead. And when I saw her like this, I told her at once, I said, you know what, Madeleine? you have to stop karate and rugby. Really, you have to stop. And she answered tit for tat, and she said, okay, karate I can stop, but rugby there is no way. I promised my coach for the complete season. That was maybe 10 days before dying. When you're so open, funny, full of joy, of humor, believe me, it means something. Then in 10 days, she went down very, very quickly. And the last days, she was lying on the bed and she couldn't communicate anymore. And before being in this state, she told me, you know, in the Bonfin, when an old sister is dying, agonizing, the others, they come to say goodbye. I don't want them to see me like this. I want them to remember the Madeleine that I was, not the Madeleine that is agonizing, pitiful on the bed. Please, E.G., can you accept to refuse them to see me? And I said, anything you want, Madeleine. I remember she told me, do it for me, in my memory. It was as if Yolande was talking to me. She gave me a part of the love of Yolande, and she asked me to act for her while she was not dead, but agonizing. And I said, of course, everything you want, Madeleine. And I did. But when I did, it was very, very hard. Because the old sisters and brothers, and among them those who saw me as Peter Deneuve, I was there at the door, they were knocking at the door, I was going outside, and I said, I'm sorry, she doesn't allow you to see her. And I saw some old brothers and sisters crying. They said, you are not going to do that to me. You're just a kid. I have been a friend of Madeleine for 30 years, and now you're telling me that I cannot see her, but go away, I want to see her. No. That's what she has been asking for. And believe me, to be honest is tough. And Madeleine, she was in a coma, so some people told me, but come on, doesn't matter, she will never know. You make them happy. I said, no, I promised, please. And then, for the last days, Madeleine was really in a coma. We couldn't communicate with her. She was still moving a bit, but not reacting on our words. And at one point, she was lying down on her back, and sorry, I shook her gently. I said, Madeleine, do you hear me? Do you need anything? And she didn't react. And maybe 30 seconds later, she opened her eyes. Great, fantastic blue eyes. She stretched her arm towards the ceiling, as she wanted to show or to catch something. And she said, oh, it's so fantastic, it's marvelous, so beautiful. And she died. And I stayed there. I was looking at the ceiling. I said, what did you see? And she stopped. We were different people there. And I looked at her, and I cried gently, softly. And then I stood up. I was just in front of her, and I said, I want her life. I want her death. I meant that I wanted to be like her, to follow her example. And she died surrounded by friends. I was a bit disappointed because when she was awake, she said, when I die, I will show you the light. And as she did what she did before dying, I thought, well, okay, she showed me, but I didn't see a lot, you know. But she was dead. And I had a lot of new enemies in the Bonfin because a lot of people were refused by me. So I was guilty of being a monster. A little detail now, that is maybe not a detail, but that I wanted to speak about. It is in my beginning, in my new adventure in the Bonfin. First of all, I was very, very surprised to see that in the Bonfin, they are not really vegetarian. They eat fish. That I knew, because I knew that Omram couldn't ask for more. It was the maximum he could ask. But the people of the Bonfin, they were always saying we're vegetarians. And I was saying, no, you're not. I'm sorry, you're not. No. And in the agriculture, as I worked there, I could see that it was not at all organic. We're putting a lot of pesticides, a lot of stuff. I mean, maximum of pollution for the maximum of production. And that was also for me very weird in a place like this. And the guy who worked in agriculture and myself, no one wanted to work in the agriculture, you know, because it was really hard. I was supposed to work 6 or 8 hours a day, I've forgotten now. But the guy who was the leader of the agriculture, was also a volunteer. He was obliged to work 13, 14 hours a day because there was no one else. So he was overworked, and in my philosophy, there is no way to let my friend working this amount of time and myself not doing it. So very quickly, I ended working with him 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I was totally exhausted. It is at that time as well that Madeleine tried to cure me. So it was an intense time where I was putting the doses of insulin down with the fatigue, everything else. At one point I was extremely ill, and I had to sleep for about 2 weeks. I was in a bungalow and just sleeping the whole day long because I was totally exhausted. And at the end, when I left the Bonfin after 5 months, I went to the reception to make sure that everything is fine. And they're going to ask me for 2,000 euros. I said, what? You must be joking. I am a volunteer here, I don't pay. I said, yes, but you had 2 weeks as a congressist with your girlfriend and your kid, so you have to pay for 3 people for 2 weeks, food, accommodation, everything. I said, no, it's a scam. I worked so much, the double of what I was supposed to work, and they said, oh, it's your problem if you work more, and that after that you are too tired to go on. You were supposed to do every day, that's your problem. I said, yeah, but I'm not going to let the other one work a lot. He's like me, just a volunteer. I said, yeah, but it's not your problem. I said, fuck off. And they said, we understand you cannot pay the 2,000 euros now, you need time to pay, we can organize something. I said, no, it's a scam, I absolutely refuse to pay 1 euro. You will never see my money, you can forget it. So of course, in the Bonfin, it was even worse. It was even worse because I left a bill, I created problems, I said no to the people who wanted to see Madeleine Chavanon. Oh my God, I'm a devil. It's a point of view. And they can look at me like this. And you're going to say that the Bonfin is a horrible place to go. Well, yes and no, because I learned also a lot of stuff with energy, with Joyce Clark, with Madeleine Chavanon, with Conquête. So I had friends to meet and where I could learn a lot. As for the darkness, yes, I learned also how the darkness can be like a snake waiting to bite and to spit the venom at any time. Yes, it's true. You know, at the beginning, I remember I was working, to give you the idea, I was working with a tool that is done to destroy roots. It's like a pickaxe, but with two picks at the same time, and And it was really hard. And I remember one day I was working intensely on that. I was bare chest, working, sweating. And it was so hard in the summer, in the afternoon. I said it would be more clever to work in the evening, at around 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I know, because you mustn't disturb the brothers, they meditate, so you have to work in the afternoon with the heat, with the sun. Yes, it's like this, you have to respect the Brotherhood. Because, of course, I'm not part of the Brotherhood. As I am volunteer, I am just a slave. And I was doing that, I was bare chest, and there's a girl coming, a woman coming. And some congressists, they could decide to come and help 1 or 2 hours, for free like this, because they... And there's a lady coming, and I said, oh, cool, it's so hard, at least I'm going to relax, we talk a little bit. I know that she wouldn't be working a lot, but at least it's more interesting when you have somebody talking, And she came to me, she was looking at me working, then she put her left hand on her heart, and the right hand turned to me, like... the way to give your energy to somebody. And from her she said, it's really tough, brother, it's really tough. And she turned back and she went away. I was about to take my stool and to put it into her back. That's the Brotherhood. And after that I was really, really angry. Because it was so hard, it was really sun, they don't want you to work in the evening, the people are so arrogant. I was really crazy. And after I cleaned the complete field of very old woods, I was asked to make little holes, and we started to plant salads. And after that, I spoke one evening with the Master Omram at the beginning of the Bonfin. I said, I'm very disappointed. I thought that I was in a school of initiation of light, of what is this shit? And he said, what? You come here, you meet darkness, and the light. You take off the useless old roots that are producing nothing, and you put new plants to feed everybody in the Brotherhood. If that is not a school of initiation, I don't know what initiation is then. It was presented in such a way that I discovered that a lot of stuff I was doing in the Bonfin, very often very dark, were really a way to learn and to discover every aspect of the light, every aspect of your action, every aspect of the existence. And I think that if you don't have that with light and darkness, you will never know what the light is. If you are afraid of the darkness, you will never have the courage to meet the light. So when the darkness is facing you, you say, okay, let's dance together. I'm not afraid of you. And if you are not able to do that, you will never discover the light. I remember that one day I met 3 people who were there, brothers and sisters, at the meeting where they wanted me to be Peter Deneuve. And I told them that I was sorry to refuse them for Madeleine Chavanon. And they said, we're not angry. We understand. You gave your word. You're a man of your words. You had no choice. Here, everybody is afraid of you because you're so mighty, so powerful, so clean. You refuse any kind of darkness because you are the Master Peter Deneuve. And you came for this. And I said, please, stop this. I'm not open at all. I appreciate that you appreciate my honesty, but you stop with the story of Peter Deneuve. Please stop it. What I can insist about with the Bonfin is that it's a place where they say that you have to be humble because the ego is always bad. They always say, oh, it's the ego is bad. The ego is bad. But at the same time, there was a lady, for instance, Natasha Colezard. She was a star in the Bonfin, and some other people, when they were arriving, there were flowers everywhere, there were people singing. I mean, it was so much into adoration. And any musician that had a good level in the Bonfin, he was like a god. And at the same time, they were always saying, oh, the ego doesn't exist, but what is the cinema then? And in fact, the music was very important in the Bonfin. For me, being an expert, I learned when I was in the Bonfin a lot, much more, every detail of panorhythmy, of gymnastic. That's why I can teach it. I can teach them now, and it's very important to know every aspect of panorhythmy and to be able to dance the panorhythmy. Maybe one day we're crowded enough to do it again. Who knows? So you have these strange paradox, and that you have to always remember. The spirituality is saying the ego doesn't matter, but in fact when they have this speech, it is more to teach you that you don't have an ego, and that me, when I speak, I am divine. But you should put your ego down so that I can show off that I'm the best of the best of the best of the best. And this is another paradox that everyone has. You want to be humble, but you want to be proud. You want to be discreet, but you want to be the best one. And some of you, you know me, I always play the game that I'm the master of the universe. And it's only a game to play with the kids, to fight and so on. But also, I do that because I do believe that I am the only one of this planet who is not believing to be the master of the universe. Because it's an obsession of pride and power on this planet, because you have all been learning this. I want you to understand that the spirituality, the knowledge of spirituality, can be the perfect path of darkness, of the devil. So you have to learn the spirituality always going in a path of light. Take off the old roots that are totally unproductive, everything that you believe that you want to be proud of, and put new plans so that you can feed the complete brotherhood. That is the protocol of security that you have to keep, that I learned in the Bonfin. Avoid the cinema of power. Be happy, to be honest, to be clean. It's very important to understand all of this. You have to understand that above everything, we have to go back to the light. You see, in the Bonfin, I was hated because I was honest, because I am honest. If you develop this network of love, as I spoke about at the beginning, if you have with this field, this network of love, you cannot betray or hurt the people who are incarnating a part of your soul. Why would you do that? And without the real love, there is no brotherhood. If you want a real brotherhood, a real love nest, you must have the network of love and respect your existence that is manifested to you through the actions of the others who love you. And you have to welcome the soul of the others by the power of the love. And then we are one. In the Bonfin, they nearly did it. They nearly did it. But because they were in the pride, in the cinema, and not real love between each other, they lost the brotherhood. One day, 2 Bulgars arrived at the Bonfin. It was a long time ago, before my presence. Oh no, it was between my first visit and my second visit. So the Master Omram was dead, or he was not there. I have forgotten if it was before my first visit or second visit. It doesn't change anything. The Bulgarians, they could flee from their country with the communists. They could cross the complete Europe. They avoided the police. They did it. They arrived there. And they have been to the Bonfin because they heard that a Bulgarian had succeeded in Europe. So they wanted to get his help. They go there, And they explain the situation. And there's the nephew of the master who used to live in the Bonfin. She goes, she speaks Bulgarian, so they speak together. And she said, don't worry, we're going to go, the master is going to look after you, blah, blah, blah. And in fact, the master was not there, and they called the police. And they were arrested just at the door of the Bonfin. When you do that, you have nothing to do with the love. The idea is to understand you can evolve towards the light, but you have to evolve absolutely towards the love, the commitment, the actions to protect the life, to be a real vegetarian or real vegan, even better. You have to become Lucitarian, to be one with the light, and to deserve any drop of food of air that you eat or breathe. Above everything, the love is the path of security that you can use to protect your evolution always towards the light. Once you forget the light and the love, you forget the life. You cannot protect it anymore. You follow your paths. You have to go with your boyfriend, with your girlfriend. You betray the people who saved you. You forget what you received and everything else. There's a path of honor and intensity with the power of love. With the power of love, the death doesn't exist. With the power of love, the limits don't exist. With the power of love, the pride will disappear. With the power of love, the lies will disappear. With the power of love, the rejections, the limitation, the judgment, the denial, the backstabbings, they will disappear. We are one. And we love each other because we are one. The differences with the nationalities, with the ages, with the genders, it doesn't exist. All of this doesn't exist. There's a way of dignity, intensity, magical existence at every level, in every cell of your existence, by the power of love. Love yourself, love each of your cells, love your digestive system, your lungs, eat correctly, breathe correctly, protect your heart, protect your love, protect your sex, be a brotherhood inside and be a brotherhood outside. And if you love everything of yourself, you're just obliged to love the others as well, especially if they're created also the brotherhood inside. What you do inside will come outside. There is no outside victory without an inner victory. And this inner victory can be won only by the power of love. Love within yourself, love around you. By the power of love, everything is possible.